Hi, I'm Karen. We're here at Montevilla Sewing Center, and today we're talking about the Pfaff Quilt Ambition 630. In this video, I'm going to show you about decorative stitching. So when you do decorative stitching on fairly thin fabric like this, you want to use some kind of stabilizer, and I'm going to show you a stabilizer that I really like. This is a tear-away stabilizer. What that means is once you're done stitching, you can just tear away the excess stabilizer and leave your stitches behind. It'll still leave a little bit of stabilizer in your stitches, but that's okay. It helps it remain flat. Okay, so to give you an example of what the tear-away stabilizer will do for you, or any stabilizer that you use, I've chosen stitch number 13, which is a feather stitch. So let's start sewing that a little bit here without the stabilizer and just a single layer of fabric first. Sew about that far, and then I'm going to go needle down just so I can kind of lift this up and get it right close to the stitches right there. Okay, so I'm going to take a few more stitches using the stabilizer. Okay, let's just cut that off. Go look at the difference. You see how this looks a little scrunched up and this looks nice and flat. So that's why using a stabilizer in your stitches is going to help, especially if you have a thin piece of fabric. This is especially good if you're doing lettering and you're using that lettering to make like a quilt label for your quilt. You want to use a stabilizer behind it. Then you can take your stabilizer and just tear it away. And just leave a little bit of stabilizer. There you go. Looks just like that. And on the front, nice and flat and beautiful. Okay, so let's do some decorative stitching. So again, to get into regular stitching, you can always just, remember, press that center thing. There you go. You're into regular stitching. So if I was going to do, say, a sequence of stitches, that's what this button is right there. Right now we have no sequence of stitches, no sequence selected, but look up here and you can see you've got trees and bushes, you've got a couple different houses, so let's do a sequence with those in them. So to start out with, notice the numbers that we've got. Say we want to do a tree first, that's 187. Well, that's in this group of stitches right here between 143 and 201, so that way we know we've paged ahead to where we need to be. You can page ahead further, watch your numbers. There you go. There's 187 right there. Now that tree to me looks a little stretched out like a palm tree. I'm going to make a little bit shorter stitch so it looks like a regular tree. So now next I want to do a house. Now it shows two houses up here, but that's because that way you get a better view of what it's going to look like if you did a whole line of these houses. But we can do a single house. So let's go to choose our stitch in that group. That's 185. Page ahead until we get to 185 right there. Now we've got a little house. Now that house also, I want to just kind of shorten that down a little bit more. I would like to now put a bigger house, 186. Again, we're going here, page ahead until we get to 186 right there. So now we have tree, house, house. Let's put a bush between that bigger house and the next tree there. So that would be 188. So go up to here, go to that group of stitches, page ahead until we get to 188. There we go. Now I would like this bush to look more like a hedge, so I'm going to narrow it right here to make it a little bit shorter. Now when you hear that beep beep, that means that's reached the limit to where you can change it. Now if you want to look at what this whole thing looks like, you can use these cursor buttons. Moves the cursor back, and that's what this is going to look like. It's going to stitch this out and repeat this sequence as long as you stitch. So let's give that a whirl. Now first of all, one of the things I forgot to show you, but for decorative stitching, the decorative stitches put a lot of thread into your fabric, so you want to use the foot 1A here. It has a groove in the back here. So take your foot off, you just push back on the back of it like that. Put this under here, line up the 2 stitch holes. There you go, it's right on there. Also, this has some extra lines in it, which if you have a line drawn on your fabric, those lines are really helpful for lining up your stitching. Okay, so let's just give it a whirl here. And it's going to show you, even though you want to keep your eyes here on what's happening at the needle, it will show you right here what part of the stitch you're on. So this gives you an idea of what your stitches are going to look like. Now, if you wanted to have a brighter stitch, you could use like a silky thread, a satiny type thread, and it gives you a beautiful stitch this way. But that's really cute. I mean, you could put that on the hem of a garment or something like that. Okay, so let's say we want to memorize this stitch, this sequence of stitches into our machine. That's what this little heart is here. So I'm going to do that. Overwrite means if there's already something in the memory, yes, we will overwrite. Right now I had just put in just a straight stitch, and that's fine. Okay, that means we can go back to regular sewing. Here we are. And if we want to bring that back out of memory, that sequence of stitches, then we push that, and there we go. Another neat thing about this, you can turn off your machine, turn it back on, and remember what I said in a previous video. Your machine is going to wake up ready to sew straight stitch. Notice I turned it off. To bring that stitch back up, we go to the heart right there, and there it is. It's all ready to go. So if you had a sequence of stitches that you were doing a whole bunch of, and you wanted to memorize and get those back up again, including all of your adjustments that you made tomorrow. Say you've done a little bit of sewing today, turn off your machine at night, get up in the morning, do some more sewing. There you go. You could just go right to that heart and get you right back to where you were before. A really nice, handy feature to have. Okay, so that is your basic stitches, and of course if you wanted to erase that, all you'd have to do is just put in a different stitch. You've got one memory slot to do there. Okay, so if this video was helpful to you, give us a thumbs up. If you have comments or questions, you can leave those in the area down below. We have lots of other videos on this machine and on other machines here on our Montevilla YouTube channel. So thanks for watching. We'll see you later. Bye.